Alright, what's happening, guys? Talking again about the art of seduction. This time I'm breaking down the Coquette archetype.
Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
I just want to give a quick disclaimer. This is my own interpretation of the Coquette. Robert Greene has a lot of stuff to say about it. You can read the book, you can understand it. But from me reading it, what I started to understand is, hey, isn't this kind of like an anxious avoidant attachment style, right? Of this hot and cold behavior, but instead of a weakness, it's a strength, because they're using this idea of delayed gratification, right? They're basically playing hard to get. Katharine Hepburn is an example. That woman in Basic Instinct. Anybody who's kind of playing this game of, okay, I'm detached from the outcome. I'm completely emotionally I'm cold. But then in moments when I'm making my target insecure, I show them warmth and compassion to kind of pull them back in. So if you ever heard of the mystery method, this is what is called as cat string theory, right? If you have like a ball of yarn that a kitten can grab, right? It's gonna try to grab it, but then you pull it away at the last second. So it pulls this, it's like this excitement of it trying to catch it. The sense of anticipation, building anticipation is a big part of the Coquette archetype. Now, a male version of this would probably be someone like Gordon Ramsay, who, he's very endearing and, he's a very friendly dude, but if you piss him off, if he's very strategic and he's very like this hot and cold personality, right? So it's this dark sarcasm, this wittiness. I would say that that is like the male equivalent of the Coquette. But again, if you just look at this principle of these two dualities, right, hot and cold, and you start to understand that, okay, isn't this like the idea of push and pull? Pushing someone away and you're pulling them towards you, okay? It's the same principle. It's a Coquette principle, okay? Josephine Bonaparte, in the story, he talks about Napoleon, Robert Greene. The key to playing the Coquette is never offering full satisfaction in somebody else. It's always just like, in a sense, keeping them chasing you. And this kind of veil of narcissism, this mask-like quality, gets people very attracted to your mystery and your elusiveness, your enigma. Take the example of a cat. A cat is not concerned about what you're doing. It's inaccessible, it's self-sufficient. It's kind of just like has this kind of resting bitch face, kind of like. There's something so alluring about that we want to get the cat's attention. We want to make it go, puppy dog-eyed in a sense. Weird to call it cat puppy dog-eyed, but anyway, you get my point, right? We want it to be lovable, but we know cats, they're sly, man. This is why, like, the animal kingdom, or even the charm of a small child who is in their own world, absolutely, that kind of has a charm of the Coquette. And this is from Sigmund Freud also, who mentioned this in the book. Narcissistic women have this quality that men are drawn to them because of this kind of mystery, this elusiveness. They want to find the answer, and they get love bombed, right? They'll be like, oh, your beard is so sexy, and in the next moment they'll be like, gross, or whatever, right? Just back and forth example of like a magnet that attracts and repels creates this very interesting dynamic. We as a culture, we've got to understand we have to allow people to miss us, okay? If you're living with the same person for years and years and years, it's like, it's gonna get boring after a while, right? But you move away, you create some distance, it's going to add, basically, they're going to create a storyline in their own imaginations, okay? They're going to start to get obsessed by you, in a sense, if you pull away that attention, withdraw that away. Now, I'm not saying that as like a technique or whatever, but again, let's look at the opposite side, right? Someone who's needy, cloying, craving, desperate, makes you feel claustrophobic, right, with their presence. This selective withdrawal that they do kind of shows their own sense of security, like, hey, I know that I value my time and I'm allowed to do what I want, right? That's very bold and attractive. In a sense, man, the Coquette also has a very high self-esteem. And obviously someone with a high self-esteem we deem as attractive, because why? We would want to have offspring with someone who has a very high level of self-esteem, right? We don't want a low self-esteem person. This self-esteem element is very critical in the art of seduction, okay? So this pleasure, withdrawal, hope, and frustration starts to generate and accumulate a chi, an energy between those two poles. And I think that that's what causes the attraction is, you know, it's almost like gambling, right? Why do we like gambling? Because there's a 50% chance. If gambling was that you always won, there would be no excitement. There would be no dopamine involved, right? So it's almost like when you're drawn to the coquette, it's like gambling. And so as men, we get excited by the chance, the probability of her. Oh, does she like me or does she not like me? Oh, right? This hot and cold behavior kind of creates that addiction in us, in a sense. It's like an addiction, right? Just like gambling can be an addiction because it releases that uncertainty. It's like you can't catch them, because try catching someone who's in that maybe, perhaps, it depends, I guess state. You can't really capture them, right? Are you kidding me right now? She tells you, maybe. What does that do to your mind? You know, it invigorates you more, it makes you angry, it makes you confused, it causes emotional turmoil within. And that's the skill set of seduction that she has. She can get you emotionally wrapped around her world. But also, she's completely detached from the emotion. So you're the one being emotional in this case. Coquettes can play with people's emotions like a piano, as Robert Greene says, right? They're experts in inciting a jealousy plot line or something like this in somebody. And it's interesting because the symbol that Robert Greene uses is the shadow. As we know with shadow work, you know, it's the parts of us that remain hidden. Of course, there's the shadow of our negative side, but there's also the golden shadow, the parts of us repress, the hidden potential that we have, right? So again, I believe that if we try to catch our shadow, we'll never catch it. But if we turn our back to the shadow, it starts to follow us. So this is kind of the idea based on it, right? It's not this neediness, but it's kind of a law of the universe. Like okay, you turn your back to it, you're not attached to the outcome. There's going to be great things happening in regards to that. It's like when it's night, you know, we expect there to be change, night to day. And this kind of change is, well, change, understand this, is feminine energy, right? So I believe the coquette also has this quality of like, hey, changing makeup, changing clothes. She never wants to be looking the same both days, in a sense, okay? This quality keeps you interested, keeps you kind of attuned to her energy. And this idea of, hey, they can please us, but can they really love us? She's awakening a man's pleasure and libido, but is she awakening your heart? Remember, she's emotionally distant, so what will she do? She'll be an actress, right? She'll pretend to cry, she'll pretend to laugh, she'll fake her orgasm. This is the pattern, so be very, very careful with this, right? I don't want so many people to like fall into the trap of being like, you know, swayed away with this in a sense. So you got to understand, Robert Greene really broke this down, man, and he's sharing some of these bad bitches, you know, secrets in a sense, or whatever you want to call it. So very powerful realization. If you got anything from this video, if you would like me to continue this series, thank you for the person who commented, who told me, you know, love these, keep them going, keep them coming. I love that encouragement, man. It helps me to make these videos, make them more crisp, make them more compact. And again, I'm glad you guys are liking these, okay? Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it. Boom.